Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sunday worship at the First Unitarian Congregation of Ottawa. My name is Chris, and I'm delighted to be your worship associate this morning. Whether you're taking part in this worship celebration from home or wherever else you may be, wherever you may log on, you are welcome here. We acknowledge that our FirstU campus is located on traditional, unsurrendered, and unceded Algonquin Anishinaabe territory, and that the work of reconciliation is a responsibility of our congregation and of all Canadians. Our goal is to educate ourselves and all who have the capacity to understand, to be of service to those at risk, and to advocate for justice. Yeah. For short people? Thank you. Yeah. If you're new to FirstU and would like to learn more about us, please contact us through our email at welcome@firstunitarianottawa.ca. You can also get more information at the tables at the back of the pews. We have Carol there waving. And we hope you join us for coffee hour after the service. Our opening song this morning is number 6 in the Gray hymnal, Just As Long As I Have Breath. Some announcements. And now we have Carl from the board with some announcements.
Good morning. Do you need a comfortable place to escape the heat this summer? FirstU has several air-conditioned spaces, not this one, which are often available for reading, chatting, or playing cards. Call the office at 613-725-1066, weekdays 9:30 to 4, to find out which rooms are available. Also, FirstU is seeking a new director of religious exploration, a rewarding position paid for 20 hours per week. If you know someone who would be available and would like to do this job, get them to fill in the details. Look for the details in the EUU or on our website under jobs. And save the date. This year's fall fair will be on Saturday, November 18th. Watch the EU for upcoming details on how to donate goods and to volunteer for our largest congregational fundraiser. That's it.
We will light our chalice this morning with the poem Lester by Shel Silverstein. Lester was given a magic wish, by the goblin who lived in the banyan tree. And with his wish, he wished for 2 more wishes. So now, instead of just 1 wish, he cleverly had 3. And with each one of these, he simply wished for 3 more wishes, which gave him 3 old wishes plus 9 new. And with each of these 12, he slyly wished for 3 more wishes, which added up to 46, or is it 52? Well, anyway, he used each wish to wish for wishes till he had 5,007,018,034. And then he spread them on the ground and clapped his hands and danced around and skipped and sang and then sat down and wished for more and more and more. They multiplied while other people smiled and cried and loved and reached and touched and felt. Lester sat amid his wealth, stacked mountain high like stacks of gold, sat and counted and grew old. And then one Thursday night they found him dead, with his wishes piled around him. And they counted the lot and found that not a single one was missing. All shiny and new, here, take a few, and think of Lester as you do. In a world of apples and kisses and shoes, he wasted his wishes on wishing. And our Time for All Ages is also by Shel Silverstein, The Giving Tree. So we'll have a video and cross our fingers, all the tech works.
The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein. Once there was a tree, and she loved a little boy. And every day the boy would come and he would gather her leaves and make them into crowns and play the king of the forest. He would climb up her trunk swing from her branches and eat apples. And they would play hide and go seek. And when he was tired, he would sleep in her shade. And the boy loved the tree very much, and the tree was happy. But time went by, and the boy grew older, and the tree was often alone. Then one day, the boy came to the tree, and the tree said, "Come, boy, come and climb up my trunk, and swing from my branches, and eat apples, and play in my shade, and be happy." "I am too big to climb and play," said the boy. "I want to buy things and have fun. I want some money." "I'm sorry," said the tree, "but I have no money. I only have leaves and apples. Take my apples, boy, and sell them in the city. Then you will have money and you will be happy." And so the boy climbed up the tree and gathered her apples and carried them away. And the tree was happy. But the boy stayed away for a long time, and the tree was sad. And then one day the boy came back, and the tree shook with joy. And she said, "Come, boy, climb up my trunk and swing from my branches and be happy." "I am too busy to climb trees," said the boy. "I want a house to keep me warm," he said. "I want a wife and I want children, and so I need a house. Can you give me a house?" "I have no house," said the tree, The forest is my house, but you may cut off my branches and build a house. Then you will be happy. And so the boy cut off her branches and carried them away to build his house, and the tree was happy. But the boy stayed away for a long time, and when he came back, the tree was so happy she could hardly speak. "Come, boy," she whispered, "come and play." "I am too old and sad to play," said the boy. "I want a boat that will take me far away from here. Can you give me a boat?" "Cut down my trunk and make a boat," said the tree. "Then you can sail away and be happy." And so the boy cut down her trunk and made a boat and sailed away. And the tree was happy, but not really. And after a long time, the boy came back again. "I am sorry, boy," said the tree, "but I have nothing left to give you. My apples are gone. My teeth are too weak for apples," said the boy. "My branches are gone," said the tree. "You cannot swing on them." "I am too old to swing on branches," said the boy. "My trunk is gone," said the tree. "You cannot climb." "I am too tired to climb," said the boy. "I'm sorry," sighed the tree. "I wish that I could give you something, but I have nothing left. I am just an old stump. I am sorry." "I don't need very much now," said the boy. "Just a quiet place to sit and rest. I am very tired." "Well," said the tree, straightening herself up as much as she could. "Well, an old stump is good for sitting and resting. Come, boy, sit down, sit and rest." And the boy did, and the tree was happy.
Today, I've been asked to place a stone in the water as we mourn the tragic death this week of Reverend Rodrigo Rod Emilio Solano Quesnel. Many of you will remember Rod ESQ, who joined our congregation while a student at Carleton University. Rod was a very active member of this congregation, serving as a worship associate, summer service speaker, a lay chaplain, a board member, a young adult leader, to name a few of his roles. I am sure that many of us have stories about how Rod touched our lives, and I hope we'll be able to share those. For my daughter, Anusha, she looked forward to Rod's visits to Ottawa, as he often stayed with us while he was studying in seminary. He had a unique way of connecting with young children and seeing the world through their eyes. He could be silly, and she loved that. Anusha used to confuse his name and often called him God, which gave us a good chuckle. There were many things that I appreciated about Rod. He was smart, he was artistic, he was quirky, and he was a loyal friend. I always admired his steadfast determination to reach his goal to become a Unitarian minister. He never wavered from this. It was not easy for Rod. He lived on a shoestring budget. I worried that he didn't eat enough, and he had to juggle part-time jobs with Unitarian ministry to make ends meet. But he did it, and he never lost sight of his goal. We met this past May and had a really great conversation. I was so happy that he was with his life partner, Sarah, and that he was a full-time Unitarian minister.
We talked about the fact that he had finally learned how to drive and that he no longer had to work multiple jobs to make ends meet. I told him how proud I was of him and how much I admired his steadfast focus on his goal. I'm really glad we had that conversation with his tragic death this week. The CUC has posted a lovely tribute on their website, and I encourage you all to read it as it gives a very full account of Rod's ministry. So I placed a stone in the bowl this morning to remember Rod and to extend all of our care to his partner Sarah, his family, and everyone he touched by his ministry, especially those in the Unitarian Church of Olinda where he served. I would now like to invite all of you to come forward, and if you would like, place a stone in one of the bowls of water in front of the sanctuary to symbolize the joys and sorrows in your lives. And I'll ask Chris to place one last stone in the bowl of water for all of the joys and concerns that remain in the silent sanctuaries of our hearts.
Good morning, I'm Susan, and I'll be reading Blessed in Aging by Esther Mary Walker. Blessed are they who understand my faltering step and shaking hand. Blessed who know my ears today must strain to hear the things they say. Blessed are those who seem to know my eyes are dim and my mind is slow. Blessed are those who look away when I spilled tea that weary day. Blessed are they who, with cheery smile, stop to chat for a little while. Blessed are they who know the way to bring back memories of yesterday. Blessed are those who never say, "You've told that story twice today." Blessed are they who make it known that I am loved, respected, and not alone. And blessed are they who will ease the days of my journey home in loving ways.
Thanks, Susan. And we'll now have the summer choir lead us in our anthem, When the Summer Sun is Shining. Thank you, Summer Choir. I have the pleasure of introducing our guest speaker, Jackie Holzman. She has a history of being there at the beginning, whether it's Paratranspo, the Jewish Family Services, Causeway Work Center, the Salus, Tamir, and Rehab Institute housing programs, the Royal Ottawa Hospital, the Ottawa Health Sciences Center, the Ottawa Hospital Breath Health Center, the Rehab Center, and planning for Unitarian House, Temple Israel, and many more, all before she was elected to City Council in 1982 to represent the West End of Ottawa, and in 1991 as mayor. Her volunteer activities continued in 1997 after her political career. Jackie is a co-founder of Compassionate Ottawa. She believes that it is time to talk about living right to the end with the quality of life that is important to each of us. Her volunteer work has been recognized by Algonquin College, University of Ottawa, Volunteer Ottawa with Lifetime Achievement Award, and the Governor General with the Sovereign's Medal for Volunteers. The City of Ottawa honored her by naming the new bridge over the Queensway the Jackie Holzman Bridge. She continues giving back and making a difference with her husband in their new home, an independent living apartment in Unitarian House, where she is now the president of the board. Thank you for speaking for us today, Jackie.
Yeah, you take your notes and I'll bring mine. Yeah. Well, thank you very, very much for the introduction. I didn't realize how many beginnings there were. I hope you can hear me because I have good, okay. Mm-hmm. Well, it's always good to be invited anywhere, and it's always good to be invited to one of our neighbors right here on the Unitarian House, First Unitarian, and the campus. And last year when I was invited to speak, I raised a few questions about the future, and here we are 1 year later. Today I would like to bring us up to date from my perspective, and naturally with a little bit of history. I would like to suggest some options, and we'll tie it in with the big question, have you had the talk? So briefly, May 1982, I was at the Social Planning Council, and at the church just over in the fellowship hall, there was a session to talk about building of Unitarian House, and I was invited to be part of it. And then in October '84, I was elected the councillor for this area, so I was there at the opening of Unitarian House, yet another first. We became residents 2 weeks after COVID. As you mentioned, I'm now the board president. I'm also married to John Rutherford and a member of the FirstU congregation. So 1 year later, we've had enough of the injections, of the boosters, the flu shots, the self-testing, all preventions. I still feel naked without going out without a mask, and I do see some people wearing masks, and it's amazing how you want to reach for that mask. But we survived. We returned on Wednesday from our first out-of-country vacation since 2019. But what about FirstU, the River Parkway Children's Center, and Unitarian House? What about all of us 1 year later? We are now part of a little village. Decisions are being made that will impact the 3 partners presently located on this campus: the congregants of FirstU, the 130 residents of Unitarian House, and the families and the 60 kids in River Parkway Children's Center. There are now at least 2 other active participants in the process: the surrounding neighbors and the city councillor. The Woodruff North neighbors were very involved in the beginning, and they remember the agreements made at that time. They are still active players. There are lots of questions, lots of decisions still ahead. Will there be 400 new residents? Will they bring with them cars and trucks and motorcycles? And what about service and delivery trucks and the fire and the ambulances? Will everyone take the LRT? Or will we still need parking spaces? A lot of those things are still to be determined. Will the young families and children be welcome in our gardens, in our playgrounds, and our courtyards? What about the teenagers? Where and when will they hang out? How about smokers? I'm not sure who the new residents will be, so still to be determined. It's been a year since I was last invited to share some of my thoughts with you. There is still a lot of work to do to create a village, which happens to be my home. So let me share with you some ideas about how we live and where. Many of you and your loved ones still live in those large homes where you raised your kids, stored their furniture and their books in your basements until they want them. Let me tell you, they don't want them. And I know you're saving everything for your kids. But I can tell you from personal experience, when John and I moved out of our big home on Muskoka, and we were thrilled that our granddaughter and her family were going to buy the home from us. And I said, "Oh, Beck, there must be so many things you want." "Bubby," she said, "we don't want anything." I said, "Not even this big chandelier. It was in your great-grandmother's house, big chandelier." No. So thank goodness the First Unitarian is still having that big sale. I give you fair warning, nobody wants your treasures. But there are other people who want them, so bring them here in November. We need them at the sale. So, do you get out much? Do you see many of your friends? Are you waiting for your kids to phone or to show up? You're not eating well? Are you watching too much TV? Did you ever say to your kids or to your friends, "I'm not moving out of here. They'll have to take me out for feet first"? And young people, did your mom and dad ever say, "I am not going to that place"? But did they plan to age in place in the old family home? And if you can relate to these questions, is this really fair to your kids? So, the big question, have you had the talk? Have you asked yourself and your loved ones, how and where do you want to live? In the novel Our Town, 1938, Thornton Wilder talks about savoring the gift of life. And the Giving Tree talks about being happy in the gift of life, of community, of family and friends. Not only in 1938, but more recently in the Peanuts cartoon, and some of you have made me tell the story before, but there's a Peanuts cartoon, and Charlie Brown and Snoopy are sitting right here at the edge of the courtyard here, and they're looking out at the river. And Charlie Brown says to Snoopy, "You know, Snoopy, one day we're all going to die." And Snoopy says, "Yes, but on every other day we're going to live." Now, research says Charlie Brown is 100% right. We are all going to die. But Snoopy is also 100% right. On every other day we're going to live. So, how do you want to live? What's important? What are your values, your wishes? How and where do you want to live out your 70 years and 10, maybe 20, maybe 30? These are talks that you should have sooner than later. It's called advanced care planning. The how. Have you thought about what your wishes are if you were unable to speak for yourself? We all know people who have fallen, who've had strokes, who have dementia, and are not able to speak for themselves. And they may end up in institutions where they didn't want to be. They haven't got the quality of life that they would have wanted had they been able to make decisions. We wouldn't want to be there either. So you have to think about, what are your values? What's important to you? What's important to you is not necessarily the same as what's important to me. So if we don't think about it, if we don't talk about it to our children or to our loved ones or to anybody, and if we don't write it down, then we have no control over how we want to live when we're not able to speak on ourselves, on our own. And if your health prognosis is poor, we now have a choice. And I urge you to reread, if you were there at the time when Melanie Lefebvre, our executive director at Unitarian House, she spoke about her coming to grips as a registered nurse with the whole idea of medical assistance in dying. She describes it as part of health care. It's very interesting. I'm not suggesting it's for everybody. I'm not suggesting it's for you or for me. But it's something to think about because we now can have influence on how you live. But some options about where. Where are you going to age in place? John and I just came back from a cruise on the Douro River. Came back Wednesday night. One ear is blocked, so I'm a little talking like that. But there's a YouTube called Grandma Takes a Cruise. And on it, there's a little lady, and she's talking about having taken 4 cruises back to back on a very large ship. And she says, every 2 weeks, I have new neighbors. I have a choice of 10 places where I can have my meals. And if I don't want to get up for breakfast, they're delighted to bring me breakfast in my room. I get free soap and free shampoo. I get clean towels every day. I get clean linens every day. They treat me like a customer. I'm treated like a guest. And she said she's figured it out. She figures it's cheaper for her to spend many, many, many days on the cruise ship. Works out to about $135 a day because she gets a senior's bonus and she gets all kinds of considerations. And she said, if I don't feel well, there's a doctor right there, and if I should happen to fall, they upgrade me to a suite for life. So she said, when you have to spend, and we in Ottawa, people have to spend, and are spending $8,000 and $10,000 a month in some of the retirement homes, why not spend it on a cruise ship? I'm not suggesting any of us are going to do that, but it does tell you that you got to think about it. Many of these retirement homes where their people are paying $8,000 and $10,000 a month, they look like hotels on the first floor. But how active are the residents? How involved? How happy? Do the residents and staff feel part of a community? Another place to age in place is Salis, a residence that focuses on mental health. They're going to open up a new residence. It's called Aging in the Right Place. Another option is a NORC, a naturally occurring retirement community, and the emphasis is on community. These are possible depending upon where you are living, for example, in an apartment or a condo, but it's very difficult in a single-family home. The best example, and you can Google it, it's Oasis, O-A-S-I-S. It's in Kingston. It's a perfect example. It's a little apartment building, but they provide on their own supportive living for older adults, and they build a community among members in the setting of this existing private sector building. It turns out that many, many people living in that building are eligible for long-term care, but they've been able to develop their own community, and they address the most common challenges facing older adults in private sector accommodation: isolation, loneliness, and loss of self-worth. Adequate nutrition and risk of malnutrition, primarily from eating alone. Physical fitness, fear of injury and falls. Those are the concerns that many of you may not realize that you have, but think about it. And if you're here, young people, or if you're watching on the Zoom, what about your folks? Have they ever said to you, I don't want to go to that place? Have you ever asked them, what place do you want to go to? Or what are you not interested in? The NORC describes the residential option with which I am most familiar, Unitarian House. And I have to congratulate Werner Dexel and my husband John Rutherford and FirstU. In the 1970s, housing was with a continuing level care for seniors was the priority of FirstU. By the way, the last time I looked, single seniors still make up the largest part of the city waiting list. The concept of aging in place being promoted in those days by FirstU was way ahead of the times. 3 levels of care in one place was new. And Unitarian House has the 3 red lines as part of our logo. That was the 3 levels of care that was talked about in the 1970s. An apartment building, a retirement residence, and long-term care. Well, the 45 retirement units and the 68 independent living apartments in Unitarian have been providing a family-oriented community for 40 years. The nursing home never got off the ground. However, there is nothing stopping residents from providing for themselves their own nursing care, and many of them do. In fact, 40 years ago, and John was involved, the first person they hired to be the executive director was Agnes Fennell, because they wanted somebody who thought about the community and the family atmosphere that they wanted to create. And it was the board of Unitarian House that made up the board that were all members of the First Unitarian congregation. And what you wanted was someone to create a home and a community just over there at Unitarian House. And then the first person that Agnes hired was the activity coordinator, because every new resident that came in was asked, what do you like to do? Oh, you like to read? Well, maybe you'd like to look after the library. Oh, you like to garden? Well, maybe you'd like to look after the garden. You like to sing? Maybe you'd like to join or start a choir. The whole concept was residents doing for themselves, not doing for the residents. So residents got into the habit of doing them for themselves and helping each other. Volunteers still organize and carry out these activities, and we hope that all residents consider Unitarian House as an extended family, to get involved and to make a difference. A newspaper headline that I saved says it all. Having a sense of purpose can add years to life. CMHC controlled and still controls the rents, and at least 25% of the one-bedroom apartments are based on financial need. Fundraising provides for a rent supplement. We are unique because we say in our values and our mission statement says that as long as you live in Unitarian House, you don't have to leave because you run out of money. Nobody leaves Unitarian House because they've outlived their resources. You leave for other reasons, but not because of that. And why do we do it? We do it through fundraising, and we're going to be launching the Grand Parade, and that's our major fundraiser. If you think that you support the concept that people should be able to live and age in place and shouldn't have to leave because they can't afford it, then maybe you'll think about supporting the Grand Parade. Others, like John and me, other people, we can afford to pay more. So we make monthly donations and regular donations in other ways. Everyone is encouraged to volunteer, to cover for staff on the front desk. My shift starts at 3 o'clock this afternoon. And Jan, you're there as a volunteer as well. Ria, you do other volunteerings. But we look after the library, and we look after the film nights and our many sales. And by the way, a big sale is taking place on Thursday. Check it out. Accessories, purses, jewelry, etc. Thursday, check it out. You know, the full Unitarian House board were once all members of FirstU. Now we have replaced Blair Erskine, was on the board for many years, with Mariella, who we're delighted to have on the board. So the big question, is aging in place possible? Yes, but not unless you plan well in advance. So the importance of the talk. If you talk to yourself, if you talk to each other, people who have loved ones, friends who are of that age, it's important to have the talk. Number 1, tell your loved ones about Charlie Brown and Snoopy. We're all going to die, but on every other day we're going to live. Number 2, find out from them what is important. Number 3, ask how and where they don't want to live. Because most people don't want. They don't really know what they want, but they know what they don't want. Number 4, Start advanced caring planning as soon as possible. And finally, number 5, get your names on the waiting list for Unitarian House as soon as we open up. Because Werner, John, FirstU, we had the right idea. We all want to age in place, and Unitarian House is the place where it can happen. It's all about community, purpose, respect. We all want to be independent, and we want to be able to do for ourselves as long as possible. Values, vision, mission are all important words for FirstU, for the Rideau Parkway Child Care Center, and for us at Unitarian House, the 3 apartments with footprints now on the campus. The little village introduces new dynamics, new footprints, but the unknown. Will they share our values? I hope so. Last year I suggested that in kindergarten we learn to play nice, to share, to clean up after ourselves, to be kind. It's a long time since most of us were in kindergarten. For the FirstU, Rideau Parkway, Unitarian House, and the 2 new players, it's time to put those values from long ago into action. Are we ready? I said in 2022 I thought we were. Again in 2023, I believe we are. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jackie. You've made it really easy with your 5-step plan. I love that. That's great. Now we have the invitation for the offering. During the continuing pandemic, we rely on your generosity as much as ever. I'll invite our greeters to begin collecting the offering for those who are here in person. For those who might be watching this from home, or those who'd like to find out about other ways to donate, you're invited to go to our website. If you click the Make a Donation tab, you'll get all the info, as well as the email address of our finance manager. Our gifts are freely given and gratefully received. We dedicate these gifts to the work of this community of faith, serving human wholeness, caring for the planet, upholding religious freedom, welcoming the stranger, and loving one another. Thanks. Thank you, greeters. And now we have the summer choir will lead us in hymn number 331, Life is the Greatest Gift of All. Please stand as you are willing and able to join us. Before we close this time of worship and reflection, I'd like to invite you to join us for coffee hour right after the service in Fellowship Hall, which is air-conditioned. If you're new to FirstU or still feel new, please grab a green mug so that we can be sure to welcome you. Speaking of green, all are welcome to grab some leafy greens courtesy of the Ajashki folks from the Grow Towers in the old volunteer room, right through there. For those watching from home, an informal online fellowship hour will begin at noon. You can find the Zoom link on our website or in the EUU. You can subscribe to the EUU, our weekly newsletter, on the communications page of the church website. We'll extinguish our chalice this morning to words by the late, great Betty White. People say, "But Betty, Facebook is a great way to connect with old friends." Well, at my age, if I want to connect with old friends, I need a Ouija board. Needless to say, we didn't have Facebook when I was growing up. We had phone book, but you wouldn't waste an afternoon with it. This morning's chalice is extinguished, but our connections and faith remain. Let us sing together, Spirit of Life. Thank you, Summer Choir. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, all the worship associates and those who helped out with the service. Go in peace, go in love, go in joy, and may all be well.